Today we're going to be upgrading these ditch lights on my 2004 Dodge Dakota. These brackets that you see here were custom made in my home shop. Brackets for these lights aren't available in the aftermarket or online, so I made these in my shop to fit under the hood and bolt to the fender, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. But we're going to be upgrading the lights to a set of KC Highlights Flex Era 3s. So we have to make a new mount that'll be similar to this one, just slightly taller. So I'll show you the setup that I have on the truck right now. So right now it's a pretty basic setup. Wires come in through the fender here, through a grommet, and go to a two-way switch here that I have mounted on a little panel that I made underneath my dash here, right by my hood button. So we'll pop the hood and I'll show you what's under there. Okay, so here's the brackets that I originally had built for this. Give you a little angle here, and I'll show you how the hood comes down around it. So you can see here, it's very close, but it doesn't hit. But with the new KC lights, the bolt here is slightly longer, so we're going to make these brackets, rather than cutting those bolts off and having the ends rust, I'm going to just make a slightly larger, slightly taller bracket so that that bolt clears the hood. So then the wiring again is pretty simple. It just follows the firewall along. Comes down through here. We've got some wiring here with some resistors on it, and then it just hooks directly into the battery. So there's power always running to those lights, and of course they just work on the switch that's inside the cab. So this is all going to change. I do have an aux beam 8-switch panel that's going to go in here as well, but that will be done in another video. So let's get started on those brackets. So these brackets here, they just simply bolt into the top bolt of the fender. This is a factory bolt location for these fenders, so I didn't want to have to drill any holes or anything like that. I wanted to use as many factory locations on this truck as possible to reduce the amount of drilling. So to take this bracket off, it's simply just pop this bolt out and that bracket comes right off. So the new bracket that I want to make is going to do the exact same thing. So yesterday I bought a piece of flat stock from the local hardware store. This one here is 1.25 inch width by 36 inches long, 1/8 inch steel, thick steel. So that will be what I'm going to use for my to make my new brackets. That's the exact same steel as what was used for the original brackets. So just to keep it simple, we're just going to use the same stuff. It worked well that time, so we're just going to do that again. So let's get to we'll grind this steel off, make it nice and clean before we bend it, and then we'll get to bending. So now that the metal is all nice and clean, no more oils or contaminants on that metal, we're going to go ahead and mark the points to which we're going to bend that metal to make the bracket. We also have to use the drill press over there. We're going to make a hole in the end of it here and a hole up on this end so that we have a place to mount it to the fender as well as mount the light. So all the bending will happen here on this vise. The holes will get drilled with the drill press, and yeah, we'll see how it turns out. So I found this mock-up here that I have of one that I did when I originally built these brackets. So this is one that is slightly taller than the original ones that I was using. So I'm going to try mocking this up on here again, just to make sure that's going to fit properly. If it does, then this is going to also be the one that we're going to model the two new ones over. So let's try putting this fender bolt back in, letting the hood down slow, make sure it doesn't hit anywhere. And if everything's good, then we'll use that as basically our template for the new ones. Okay, so we have the first mark on the metal, so we're gonna bend at that point. Okay, so I got two new brackets made. So now it's time to paint them. So the brackets are ready for paint. I took a flap disc on my grinder and cleaned them up, just, sanding off the rough edges and things like that. So the next step in the process for getting ready for paint, for prep for paint, and this is a pretty important one, is I use a rubbing alcohol. So I use IC Profil 91% medical grade rubbing alcohol, and I use a lint-free rag to just wipe these down, take all the contaminants off them. That's really, really important here, to make sure that any oils from your hands or any contaminants that got on the metal are removed before you start painting. Otherwise, you could end up with the paint not sticking or rust coming through later on. So make sure that you take the time to actually do that. It's really important here. So once I get that done, you want to make sure that you don't touch these anymore with your hands once they've been cleaned with the alcohol. So, again, only touch them with the rag. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a piece of wire that I had laying around the shop. And I'm going to I'm just going to slide them down over that, keep them spread apart there like you see with how I have that metal bent. And we'll get ready for some primer. So the brackets are all clean. I used the rubbing alcohol to clean them all up. They're ready. They're on the wire there that I showed you earlier, and they're ready for paint. So every time I paint anything, regardless of whether it's a bracket or a panel on a vehicle, and a full panel, I always use the same process to make sure that it's absolutely 100% clean and prepped before you spray any paint. So once it's been cleaned with the rubbing alcohol, the next step is to apply a primer sealer. I always use a primer sealer for the simple fact that it does exactly what you think it does. It seals the metal while priming it. So this is critical to keeping rust out of that metal. You want to seal that metal up. So we're going to apply 3 light coats of this primer to the metal. So I think the can recommends 10 minutes between coats, and then 20 minutes till you apply the paint. So in this case, we're going to just use a trim clad paint. This is a fairly decent paint. So you want to have a paint that's fairly good quality. Otherwise, it may not stick. So we're going to apply 3 coats of the primer, a couple coats of this trim clad paint. And again, same idea. It'll be about 10 minutes between coats. And then we're going to finish it off with this Duplicolor matte finish primer. Or sorry, matte finish clear coat. So I tend to clear coat all of my pieces and parts and body panels just because I don't want them fading in the sun. So I'm going to start off with primer. Then we're going to do paint and clear coat, and that'll be it. Then we'll let the brackets dry and cure for a couple days, and then we'll get ready to install them. So the ditch light brackets are done. They're painted. They're ready to be installed on the truck. So I thought this would be a good time now to show you what lights I'm going to replace those old ones with. And here we go. Brand new set of KC Flex Era 3s. I'm super excited to get these on the truck. I can't wait. I've been wanting these lights for a while now, so let's unbox them and see what we got. Okay, so we got the lights. These are the covers for the lights. So there's the lights. These come with a wiring harness as well. Clips into those clips there. Plug and play kind of wiring harness we got going on here. So there's the wiring harness. Everything's in that bag. So when we get ready to put these lights on, I'm going to have to do some modification to this wiring harness, because in another video that I'm going to do, I'm going to be installing this aux beam switch controller. So this here has multiple switches. All the lights go in, get wired into that, and then it's controlled by that controller right there. So watch for that video. It'll be in my video list. But yeah, no, I'm super pumped on these lights. Can't wait to get them on the truck, and maybe I'll do a little video on the comparison of the old lights with these new ones, just to see how they compare, or in this case, hopefully not compare. Hopefully these will be much better light. I'm sure they will be. So we'll do a comparison just to see how much brighter and how much better these lights actually are compared to the old ones that I had, to the cheap ones that I had on there. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so the new lights are installed, the brackets are in place, and it's time to wire these lights up. Okay, so you can see kind of down here that we have a connector. This is a Dodge connector. It just plugs in, and you're done. So we have one there, and then there's one going to the light over there. This will get it'll get fastened up, tucked up here along this wiring that you see on the firewall. Then everything comes together in this relay that you see here. So this relay comes with the kit. You just plug it into that connection there. From there, we've got a negative side and a positive side, and in this kit you would just connect that to the positive and negative of the battery. Coming out of the relay, then we have this long piece of line here, this wire, and it actually has 3 wires inside, and those 3 wires go to this 3-way switch. So this here you would put in through the firewall and put inside the truck. You would fashion up a bracket or something to install it inside the truck. So 3 wires on this switch. So you have the lights on, the spotlights on, then that's off, and the third section there, the third direction, is the amber backlights that these lights come with. So the yellow is the main feed coming into the switch. The green's wire here is what fires up the spotlights themselves, and the white wire here is connected to the amber backlights. So that's what controls the lights. Like I said, you could just put that in, fish that into the firewall, connect up the wires here, the positive and negative, to the battery, clean up the wires, make them neat and tidy, and you're done. This is a completely 100% plug and play system. In my case though, it's going to be a little different, so I'm not doing things that way. I have, as I mentioned before, I have this fuse panel box right here. So this here is going to control all the lights on the truck. They'll get connected. Those light wires will get connected to here. Feeds into this wire here that goes into the cab. And then this little controller here will sit up close to the dash somewhere, and this will control all the lights on the truck just from this one box. So that means that I'm going to have to modify this wiring harness. So the positive and negative on this harness will go to, instead of to the battery, they will go to that fuse panel box that I just showed you. And the 3 wires going that would normally go inside the cab of the truck, they're going to get modified. So the positive, or the main feed of electricity going into through this yellow wire here, that's going to get connected directly to the yellow, or to the green, sorry. So those will get connected together because we don't need the switch anymore, because the fuse panel box is going to be the new switch. So this, we can eliminate this switch here. The white wire that goes to the amber backlights, that is going to get connected to my daytime running lights. So on this truck, on my truck, the daytime running lights are the actual headlights. So when I turn the truck on, these LEDs inside my headlights, they light up. They're just kind of a dimmer version of the low beam. So the plan is to have the ambers up here on the pillars connected to that to kind of give it a kind of a cool effect. So that's the plan. So I'm going to wire tap into the daytime running light module wires to do that. All right, so it's time to get wiring. So a bit of a change in plan. So originally I said I was going to take my amber backlights there on my new pillar lights and connect them into my daytime running lights, but with a wire tap. But instead I decided to, instead of tapping into that, I decided to tap into my fuse panel box, which is located inside the truck. So these fuses here, you can test them, and I have a test light down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the key in the on position and see which one of these fuses will have power when I turn the key on. And what we're going to do is we're going to use an actual fuse tap. So this guy right here. So this will plug into where that fuse, whichever fuse I decide to use, this will plug into that space. Then what you do is you put the fuse that you take out of there, you put it into the bottom connector here, and then a brand new fuse of the same size in this one here. That'll actually feed this line that'll go through and out to the lights. So I fed it through underneath my dash, connected it into another piece of wire, fed it out through this grommet here, which I'll poke I have a hole already in it, so I'll just run that line out through that grommet, and then I'll feed it up through the fender and out to the light connection. So I've connected my test light here to a ground on the dash. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the key ahead and see which one of these fuses has power. So you can see right now some of these fuses have power, some don't. Okay, and this one here did have power, so we're not going to use that one. So we'll find another one of these here that doesn't have power, but we'll check it with the key. Okay, so let's see if we can find one here that has power with the key. Okay, as you can see here, we have a couple of options, and the key is on. So it looks like we'll use one of those right there. Okay, so I have the fuse tap in there. You can see I have it plugged into that space. Then there's 2 new 10 amp fuses in that one because the fuse that we took out was 10 amp. So that feeds again down through there, and then we have the end of the wire, the other end of the wire here. So we're gonna just test that, make sure that with the test light, make sure that when the key is on in the on position, so yeah, kind of hard to see, but you can see there's no light. I test the end of the wire. So we'll turn the truck on position. And we'll test that again, and you can see there we've got power. So that's exactly what we want. Okay, so I added a spade connector to the other end. I unplugged it from the switch, this switch out here that we talked about earlier, and just connected it into that spade connector there. So we're going to test it out, and when I turn the lights on, or when I turn the key on, these two lights here, the back amber lights should come on. Okay, so that's been connected with the spade connector. I put some electrical wire around it. Unfortunately, I don't have any heat shrink right now, so electrical tape is going to have to do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a wire with some spade connectors to bridge these two together to eliminate this switch here, because again, this harness is going to go into the new control panel. So once I get these bridged, then the only thing to turn the spotlights on and off will be the positive and negative wire, which go into the new fuse box. And then I can clean up all this wiring and tidy it up and tuck it away. Okay, so the ditch lights are all wired up, and they're wired into this new fuse panel controller. That's installed now, and you can check out that video. It'll be coming soon. All the wiring, that leftover wiring, I've zip tied it together, tucked it in here, nice and neat underneath the fender. I kind of out of sight and out of the way. I got a few more zip ties just to kind of tie up my wiring right there, just tie it up to that cable there. But aside from that, it is done. I'm super excited about these lights. I can't wait to get out on the trail and try these babies out. So thanks a lot for watching. If you liked this video or if it was helpful to you, please hit like. If you want to see more projects that I'll be doing in the future on this truck and my Jeep, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And as for now, we'll see you on the next one.